Hello everybody, day 3 of the devlog for this wargaming map, and let's see what I've changed. So, last time I talked about verticality and everything. I changed the area up a little bit. I'm not sure if I showed. At one point it was very kind of flat. This whole area, sorry, was up, if I believe, was elevated. I decided that wasn't really interesting. I mean, it adds verticality change and that's cool, but the goal was to really make it unique. You know, you want this place to be lived in. So I changed it so it was more of a bend around, and we'll actually go over this. So I was talking about having some sort of giant like building for the populace to control and whatnot, and kind of like chivalry has a lot of missions where it's like attack the inn or the tavern or whatever. And so I decided I thought about a church, but I found myself just making a tavern instead. It's really basic. It's not very pretty, but again, this is mostly to be looked at from a down or top-down perspective, and I don't expect anybody to go inside. The inside is blank. There's not going to be much in here, though it would be cool to have a ability to fight through the tavern. I might look into it later, but for now, keeping it empty is going to keep time and everything good. Notable things are we have a little arch here. It's not much, but it's kind of pretty. We've got tables and such, just like a lived-in feel. A small barricade here. I'm kind of torn on my barricade designs for now, because on one hand, I want there to be barricades, but I also want the defenders to be able to choose and place things if they want. So it feels like I should probably even it out so that the defenders don't actually have to put defenses if they want, and it's not an easy steamroll for the attackers. Other than that, we have a little courtyard area where I'm putting some market stalls and everything. Right now it feels kind of empty, but that's kind of the plan I wanted, was to be a kind of like you've got choke points here and here. If the enemy attackers are able to get to here, they've pretty much got this area completely on lockdown. So it's important that the defenders figure out their tactics. Got a little more eating area, and the important thing is you've got a little back room here, some like a back door to the tavern. And excuse me, sorry. Back room for the tavern, and an area where, say, if you were to attack with a small force, you could split your troops this way and around, and sneak all the way back in case maybe there's a big slog here. You could possibly send some cavalry or fast skirmishers all the way back here and hit them from the back, just to break that siege. That's kind of that whole aspect here, some town stalls and everything, but it's mostly just set dressing, again, for the big battles that are happening on this. We also have a location up here. If I do make it interior, this would be a pretty good spot to place some archers or something. They'd have a really good view on pretty much the surrounding area and possibly that other tower right there. And so it might be helpful. But we also have these positions here, so it's up to the players how they decide. On the right side, we've started working on the civilian buildings. This is jutting out a little bit, but so I started off with a big cube. I'm not sure if I showed off this elevated spot, but I decided I wanted to go for like a tower / arch area. So you have a small little like hovel here, and it leads into this towered building that's kind of like all of these buildings added onto the tower. The plan is to make it as it is. It's kind of a point of interest. If you get your archers up here, you'll be able to fire down on pretty much everywhere around you. Only other notable place with this kind of height variation would be here, and this one is a much harder place to take, I would say. This place has, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 ways to enter, 5 if we include this as some sort of like walkway in between the tower. So it's not well defended, so to speak, like this one is, but I think it works for, again, a point of interest, and more importantly, if attackers or defenders take hold of this, they kind of have an advantage when it comes to archers and like ranged on anybody on the ground floor. If the defender has an army on these walls, I'm not sure, but we'll just count that as the thing. If we move over here, you'll see this old area. So I remembered in my last video I was talking about wanting to make this an area where groups could meet and they'd have to worry about an ambush or a flank. And I really like the idea of this being a wide area to fight in, but I didn't know how to really make that work while also keeping it a building. And I realized you could just kind of say like, oh, this used to be an old guard tower before the walls went up. So you've got this kind of ancient, crumbling building. You've got some upgrades to it. Say here, some walls and such, floors, a ramp up. I figure it's more of a place where squatters live in the town. Maybe there's like black market meetings or something like that. You've also got some of these shelters here. Other than that, you've got some basic training areas. And then the more like noticeable part is you have this area right here. Excuse me. Sorry. You've got these barricaded areas and this fountain here where there's a bunch of barricades. The big goal here was when I had this place, and I mentioned earlier a shrine or something, so I decided to make it a fountain. I might get rid of this well, since we could just say that this has drinking water in it. But I wanted this to be an optional objective. Same with the tavern. These two locations would be kind of important for the defenders to hold on to and the attackers to take over. So the goal would be, and possibly this building as well, but I set these things up so that if the attacker really gets pushed out, they can hold out here, and as long as they're here, the attacker can't really progress safely up to these walls or anything without having to deal with the attackers like snaking out and hitting them. So it gives the attackers a fallback point, and it also gives and also a good spot for reserves, while also giving the attackers another location to worry about. But also, if they're able to wipe them out, they don't have to worry about this section. It's a really small section compared to, obviously, the next few layers. And the things I should definitely take a note is it looks like a lot empty, but when you put space into it, there's not much here. Not at all. It's very small. So the next time I work on a project like this, I definitely need to kind of get bigger with it. That, or I need to lower the scale of the buildings and characters. I'm yawning like crazy today. I'm sorry, but either lower the scale of the buildings somehow, just make them non-discrete, smaller, or I need to add much more space for a lot more buildings. Whichever. Another thing I added, a small detail, was the braziers. I'm not sure what they're called or how to pronounce it. Sorry, but these can be used for the defenders, light arrows on fire and whatnot. I don't know if there's any systems that support that, but it's just a cool detail. A lot of old castles had these kind of things. Again, to light, you'd dip your arrows in pitch, and then you'd light them on fire, pitch or oil, and you would shoot them at the enemy. So I just figured that would be helpful, and it'd look kind of nice. So other than that, honestly, this is all I've worked on. It's not very big, it's not a lot, but for what it was, I'm alright with it. Again, if I do another project like this, I need to go much bigger. This is far from what I envisioned it to be. I envisioned it to be much more crowded and everything. Another issue I was having, crowded and everything, but this isn't it. This is much smaller, much less in the way. It's a lot of wide-scale battles, but I'll take it. Another issue I was having was a floor. I wanted to do like a dirt road, some sort of like low-quality road to show this is where all the commoners come in and out. I wanted to do something like this, but once you get past even like this, looks very like copy and pasted and generic, and they don't have any really like solid like road floors that I can see that aren't either really detailed to the point where it looks really silly if you put it together with like 14 other pieces, or they don't have this little like noticeable repeating pattern. So I'm not sure what I'll do about that. Maybe I'll look up some videos. I wasn't able to find anything. I looked up some pictures and stuff, but a lot of people used just maybe one of these tiles and then the edge tiles, so about 3 wide, for their entrances and dirt roads, so it looked much better. Other than that, there's not much I've added. I figured out how to use fences and such. I wasn't sure how to connect them like the feature was added allows you to do, but I figured that out, so that'll be very helpful for setting up fences. This little system, I think I had this in the last video, but if not, I kind of wanted to make it an arch. I thought an arch, like almost, yeah, just arches right here would look nice. Again, there's not many blocks to help you with that. You have to get real creative with it, and unfortunately, I'm not that creative yet. But even here, it looks decent. It looks like columns. Maybe it'll slow heavier units down, or even fully prevent them from entering, so this becomes kind of a small scale battle area where only infantry can go. I'm not sure. That would be up to the players. There's only one other big detail. There's the tower like before, and I saw on the shipbuilding set, there's cannons. I figure cannons, trebuchets, they're all kind of, they work together in the same time frame, approximately. The cannon replaced the trebuchet, obviously, within time. But there's definitely a crosshatch. Excuse me, sorry. There's definitely a period where they were both in use. And I think this would work really well. So you've got 6 cannons on each, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 6 cannons on each of these. It kind of fits with that whole overarching idea I was talking about it being more advanced as you get up the tower tiers. Maybe if the enemy gets onto this tier, the defenders now are able to select maybe a 1.5 by 1.5, maybe a 2 by 2 meters area that will get hit by a blast in a turn or something. I don't know. They do have 6 cannons. I wouldn't say give them 12, but maybe they have a limited supply of 12 per that round or that game, so they have to make them count. Otherwise, I really like just having the cannons here. It helps. I haven't moved the wizard tower. I should definitely do that. I will do that tomorrow or the next day I work on this. It's been about 2 days since I last worked on this, since the last video as well. So I still need to work on it. But with this I'm going to say the detail part of it is relatively done. There's definitely more I can look into and more I kind of want to do with this. But for now, I'm happy with my current designs. Once we move this wizard tower, I'm definitely gonna maybe build some like barricades around it, and I'm thinking for sure that I want this section to be very like defense oriented, because this is the entrance, this is the second gate, and this is artisan and merchant quarters, which these places are very like, they're important, but they're not where all the nobles and such live. So defense isn't a huge priority. It's more for intimidation and whatnot, but obviously it'll help. So I definitely want this to be filled with like merchant houses and taverns and arches and stuff, small scale arches and stuff, and maybe some manors if possible. Again, I thought that was going to have a bunch of room in it, and it barely had any, and this might be even smaller. So we'll see what we can work with, but I'll see. This section is probably going to be for craftsmen and stuff, so it's going to be very like courtyards and blacksmithies and things like that, if I can get that kind of across with as few locations as I have, or room as I do. This section I've decided is definitely going to be where like all of the defenses are mounted, all the big defenses at least. I'm thinking wall, like stepped up walls so you could shoot down. You've got your cannons, you're going to have your trebuchets up here. You're going to have the wizard tower in itself, and hopefully a hell of a lot more defenses here. Possibly defenses on this front, and then like barricades, a lot more better made makeshift barricades for the defenders to use. And then we'll probably get rid of this like last video, so that once the players get past here, the attackers, it's just a full-on, the last defense would be this little part of the front of the palace. With that all said, done. Again, if I do a project like this, I either need to lower the scale of the buildings or I really need to make it much bigger. It just depends. Other than that, I think that's about everything I've done today, and hopefully I'll get some better work done in a few days after work.